Jennifer didn't even have time to wipe her nose.
I didn't. My allergies for some reason today I was driving in here and the water started pouring out of my eyes and I can't see and it's horrible and whatever. So just please don't pay any attention to me whatsoever as I am sitting here dying. But welcome. We
Thank
have
you.
2 more guests here on the program.
Yeah.
I think your people called my people.
Yeah.
It's fall.
It is. It's fall.
Yeah.
You just give up. You put on the flannel and you go, right?
Curt was wanting to show up about 6 o'clock to get his makeup done, but he had some things to do on the farm, so
Well,
he couldn't quite
yeah.
I
make
had
it.
my wife do it for me before I left the house.
She did a really good job.
She thought it was just going to be on the radio. I was like, no, this is TV.
No,
and she
I
goes,
need to-
sit down. We got to fix this.
She's like, son,
Yeah, she says,
get out the
mention her
beard
name.
oil and.
Don't mention her name because she didn't want to be associated, but
Well, very good. So we are going to be talking about something really, really cool going on. But first off, will you tell everybody who you are?
yeah, my name's Curt Klein. I'm the owner of Big Rack Feeds in Albany, Ohio. And
Okay.
we primarily do deer feed. Buck Bone Builder is one of our products. If you listen to the radio at all, obviously you've probably heard quite a bit of advertising with that. Tad fixes me up with a lot of advertising. And we have other corn products and other livestock feed stuff as well, too. So
Okay.
we have a family farm that's been in our family since 1863, just outside of Albany, and multiple generations. And we've been around for a little while, and just new adventures, I guess,
Very good. No, this is super exciting. And, well, refresh everybody on who you are.
Tad sells in Athens, and I met Curt. Actually, it's an interesting story. Chris, one of our former salespeople in Athens, he came to me one day and said, "Hey, I need somebody to cut an ad, but I need them to have like a Southeast Ohio hillbilly voice, and you're the only one that I know of."
He nailed it too. I mean, as soon as I heard the voiceover ad, I was like, I didn't care what it said. It was the sound.
just-
It's like he was a shoe-in for that one.
He
so.
sounded good.
So I never actually even met Curt until a couple months later. We weren't even running the ad at that time. He just wanted a sample ad
Sure.
cut. And it was a couple months later that I met Curt, and it's been quite an adventure since, and it's been a good time.
Yeah, good time.
His Buckbone Builder brand has really, honestly, it's blown up in Southeast Ohio. He's in a number of retail markets now. And so it's been a success, and we're pretty proud of it. And with this big rack competition, we expect it to just even continue to grow and also help out a number of other businesses along the way.
Okay, and so Curt, is this something that you came up with? I mean, is this your,
Yeah,
product?
so I guess a little background on me to kind of set the stage for
Okay.
where we ended up, because this has got a big story behind it.
Yeah.
I mentioned before, we a multi-generational family. I'm the 7th generation. My kids are there farming. They're the 8th. They're right there with us. My mom and dad are still alive on the farm. So we have 3 generations deep. And so we've been around for a little while. And I started selling bagged corn, 7-8 years ago. Just kind of on a whim, didn't take it too serious. I knew there was a little bit of a market for it. And then we just kind of started growing a little, developing a little more. And I started building relationships with guys that are really serious hunters. I mean, they're a lot of people, think somebody's just a hunter, but there's a lot of people that are really outdoor enthusiasts. I mean, they really manage the wildlife, their environment. It's their true passion. And having conversations with them, they would ask me, have you ever considered making a complete feed so that has a little more nutrition in it and stuff? And I was like, yeah, I've thought about it, but I'm not really sure. Well,
to feed the deer.
To feed the deer.
To
make them healthier
and
grow bigger racks. Just more deer, bigger, healthier deer. Period. The rack is kind of the secondary thing. That's not
Sure.
a priority for the deer to grow a big rack. It only happens when everything else has been satisfied for that deer, and then it grows big antlers. So, having conversations, built some good friendships with several of the guys. We had an honor system there at the farm, people coming and getting corn, and just lots of conversations, and they convinced me to put together deer feed.
Oh.
So I started this actually last fall with doing some experiments, and we, I talked to these guys like, what do you want? What are you looking for? What works well? Now,
Sure.
along with that, we had livestock basically my whole life, but I managed about 500 head of sheep for 20 years on our farm.
Okay. I was going to ask you like what you farm, you know?
Yeah, well, we're crops and livestock cattle now, but at the time, there's really no difference in the nutritional mechanism between a sheep and a deer. There's behavior, but once that corn or that feed hits the lips, the factory that processes it's really close to the same.
Gotcha.
So I had a lot of experience working with nutritionists for me on the farm, kind of in my hip pocket. I would ask these hunters what they were truly looking for in a product. It's like what works, what doesn't work out in the woods. And so obviously weatherproof was a big thing because the rain gets on the feed and it ruins it.
Sure.
So we kind of developed this, and then I had several guys, about 10 people, feed it through the winter and through the spring, and we had some really good success with it, really good luck. And then we started the marketing side of things in the summer, and we've really been behind the 8 ball. I'm probably running like 3 months behind of where I really should be, but we wanted to get it right, and we're like, this is our first year with this feed, and it's just been a great success.
And the thing that really convinced me was the fact that not only did Curt work with the hunters like myself, but he also worked with a nutritionist, a professional nutritionist who was an expert in this particular field to develop that particular product.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people don't understand this, that, feeding livestock is a science. And I can remember... this is kind of not relevant, but is relevant. You'll appreciate this. That when I was growing up, I showed horses. And the barn that I grew up in, there was, oh my gosh, 40, 50 of us showing at the same time. And the folks running the barn, you get good at feeding horses and nutrition and all that. Well, one of the kids in our 4-H club decided to take a steer one year. Well, none of us knew what the heck to do with a steer, so Edith at the barn was like, well, I just fed it like I would a horse and, made sure that the nutrients were right, and it got grand champion at the fair.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, really, they were kind of mad because the horse club had a grand champion steer, but there is a science to feeding, and, you have to feed the animals properly, and they do need the proper nutrition. And could you talk a minute about, because I have been known, please don't take this the wrong way, to be a bit critical of some of the hunters and the way that they act.
Mm-hmm.
And it really burns my rear end when, people strap this poor deer to the hood of their car and drive around town honking their horn and whatnot, and I just think that is just disgusting, because that's not respectful of the life that you just took. So could you talk about avid hunting and the respect that that real hunters show for the animals?
Yeah, it's a touchy subject, and every industry has good players and bad players.
Yes.
Farming has good players and bad players. People
absolutely.
that take care of their livestock just like their own children, and other people that have animals for their own satisfaction but don't care for them. And hunting's no different, whether it's deer hunting or you're rabbit hunting or squirrel hunting, whether you have rabbit dogs, all that stuff truly matters. And
I have the Corky here today, if you're wondering. You'll get to meet her in a little bit.
But there's really fine lines, and it's very difficult at times. And what happens a lot of times, and I can speak from the ag industry, what becomes an acceptable practice to a farmer or somebody that's in the industry, because we understand what the purpose of what we're doing is, but we can get a little bit, what I want to say, careless or sloppy with the presentation that we're presenting on what we're doing. And it's really difficult to tell somebody what's right and what's wrong.
Cute.
I mean, it's like politics, what is actually right and wrong. And I always just try to tell people, just think about what other people are seeing, what you're doing. Is that acceptable? The problem with that is it is acceptable to those people, and it's
Yes,
like, it's just not, but it's not
I
to the
get what
public.
you're
And it's
saying.
like, yeah, it's just a really difficult thing to manage. But the people that are truly good hunters and good sportsmen that take care of the environment, they're
It's all about the circle of life,
it's
right?
a circle of life,
and the environment.
it's proper harvesting. It's the humane way to do things. It's how you present it. At the end of the day, everybody's harvesting a deer, and the meat gets used and so on and so forth. But
it's doing it with some tact.
Do it with some tact and have some respect.
Sure.
And think about what other people. I mean, the last thing you want as a farmer, and once again, I relate back to this because I'm pretty sensitive to this. The last thing you want is for there to be outside pressure on what you enjoy. So if you can take an extra minute or two and do things a little bit maybe more humanely, or the presentation that you're doing to preserve your future way of what that you want to do is just a really big thing. When we have livestock, my gosh, when you had 500 head of sheep, these things were having 750 lambs. So I had like 13 to 15.
How cute, though.
Yeah, but 13 to 1,500 heartbeats, basically.
Yeah. That you're
on
in
my
charge
farm
of.
that I'm in charge of and responsible for, and
Yes.
things happen. I mean, I couldn't control a lot of things. It went on a daily basis.
You can't make up the stuff
but
that
I
happens.
could control what the result was of it. If we had a sheep that would happen to pass away on pasture or something, we immediately got it and we buried it. We didn't leave it there.
Yeah.
Obviously buzzards would come take care of the thing, and that's a natural process as well. But I was always concerned on what other people's view of my livelihood was, because that was always is a threat. And it's very easy. Your level of obviously is probably different than Tad's and different of mine of what's acceptable. And everybody has that. And it's no different than politics in general with that stuff. And it's very difficult. It's interesting. I'm glad you brought it up, because it's a very difficult thing to draw a line and say you have to be above this line or you're not.
It's not black and white.
It's not black and white, and sometimes, things happen when you're hunting and it isn't what you want. It isn't what you intended, but it happens.
Yeah.
And, that's all part of it, with it. So you got to take the good with the bad and just be mindful if you're a hunter of what you're doing. Don't get tunnel vision and focus on, what you're doing. Think about what everybody sees you doing.
Yeah, and I mean, I think at the end of the day, the main thing isn't a head hanging on a wall somewhere.
Yeah, that's right.
There's that should be like several steps down the road.
For a lot of people that have those, and I have some in my house, some deer heads hanging on the wall from years. To the hunter, it's important for people to understand that's like a picture, family portrait. That's a memory for those people that
Sure.
harvested that deer. It's more than just, it's just a
A
trophy. Look
yeah.
what I did. That's not generally what that
They see
is.
the beauty in it.
Yes, and they have that memory, and I have a deer head at my house that my dad harvested in 1972. It was the biggest non-typical deer in Ohio.
Wow.
In 1972, the deer were much smaller.
Yeah.
But I have that, and it's kind of an ugly looking deer head in general. But it's the story and
it's
the
the
memories,
feeling.
of
Sure.
that, and that's the passion behind the hunter side of it that a lot of people that don't hunt don't completely understand.
Sure.
With that as well too. So
If everybody would just be more empathetic, the world would be a much happier place. But that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
So you have come up with this deer feed. So hunters actually, so what you're saying is people will come, they will feed the deer to get them healthy. And that's better for the human too. If you're harvesting a deer that's healthier,
yeah.
and you're eating this deer,
Right.
or consuming it.
It's just like anything else. It's when a deer is healthy, when a person is healthy, everything else kind of falls in line. When you're not getting the nutrition you need, he was just talking about the food with the people from the stock room who was here, and he was talking about he has a big passion for that.
Yeah.
But it's like he the big picture of that is healthy nutritional food.
Yes.
And we do the same thing with livestock. If you want to know how to feed an animal, you talk to a farmer that feeds them every day.
Absolutely.
And you know, they truly understand that. And part of this with the deer thing that kind of nudged me into it, I got to investigating a lot of other deer feeds.
Okay.
And I you know, was like, well, I'm not just going to duplicate what somebody else is doing at the end of the day.
They're already
you know.
doing it, so why would you?
So, but what I found is boy, there's a lot of marketing, you know, behind
Okay.
this of sending the message of, you know, if you buy my products, you're going to get this giant
The
deer.
bells and whistles
the
and
bells
the
and whistles and stuff.
fireworks and all that.
I just wanted to stay away from it and stick with the science behind what we truly did here. Now, at the same time, we have to market the product. You can't just put it in a in a white bag and say, "Here's some feed. Trust me, it's good."
This is way
Well, you could,
different.
but you wouldn't get very far with
But
it.
you know, that was part of it. You know, and it's providing an extra source of feed for deer. So you think about a wild deer has free roam to go basically anywhere it wants to a certain degree. And you know,
Preferably not across the highway, but
yeah, well, that's part of the issue. But you take like in the fall of the year right now, farmers and I'm doing the same. We're harvesting our corn, so there is an abundance a month ago of feed for that deer to be able to eat.
yeah,
From now on through the winter, where's that feed come from?
sure.
So they eat browse and sticks and everything else. And when you provide an extra deer feed, it just gives them an extra source of that essential nutrients that they need to stay healthy. A healthy deer produces healthier fawns. The does milk more for their fawns. The fawns get bigger and healthier. And if you're feeding year-round deer, which can get expensive, but if you do that, you'll see a definite difference in the health of the deer.
Well, I was telling this story, I think yesterday on the show, but my husband and I laugh because we have this apple tree at our house, and we say we've come to this agreement with the deer. They get the bottom half, we get the top half
Yeah,
of the tree.
Did you get that in writing?
Yeah, yes, little paw prints. It was the cutest thing you ever
that's
saw.
good. Uh-huh.
Yeah, but no, the one day I went out and there was this mommy deer and she was on her back legs and she was picking apples and she was feeding her babies,
Yeah.
dropping them on the ground, and they were, I was like, that is the sweetest thing ever.
Yeah.
So I got to thinking about that, though, that, we get annoyed that they eat our flowers and all of the things that they do. But at the end of the day, they're trying to survive. And they're,
Right.
our flowers are probably more nutrient than sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that people confuse this, and this is once again my experience with farming, and this is I was really active in the sheep industry with the state of Ohio and stuff.
Sure.
But deer, they don't have deductive thinking. They don't have thumbs. So
Right.
their purpose in life is survival.
Yes.
They want to reproduce. They want to stay healthy. They want water. And they eat what's nutritional for them and what gives them
Which
the
is
most
our
punch.
hostas and stuff.
Yeah,
that you want to just
right.
pinch
It's time
their little
because
cute heads
that
off.
deer that ate your hostas could have went anywhere and had about anything
Yes.
that day.
Yeah.
But it's a flavor thing. So when the acorns fall, I mean, literally, you can have a pile of
they'll
corn.
step over corn to go to the
to go
Oh,
to the
do they?
acorn.
Oh, well, they must-
absolutely.
they're made tastier,
Well,
huh?
they're nutritious. Are really
Okay.
high in fat.
Okay.
Really high fat content. Fat than the deer can put on body fat.
I gotcha.
So they're
for the winter, too.
yeah, so it's a natural thing. So
They're smart.
Well, they are, and so they do things for that, and people talk about when you're hunting them, how they outsmarted stuff, and they just avoid a person. Whenever you're hunting them, people say that they can outsmart you, and it's like, well, they just have this natural instinct. They are prey in the big picture.
I had two of them smell me out last night.
Yeah.
I didn't even see coming in.
Yeah, so it's just really interesting, and they don't think like you and I think.
Right.
They're an animal. They're just different. I'm not saying that they don't feel. It's like I've been around thousands of animals my whole life. Horses is a classic example of a connection with a person. A bond. Sheep, not so much. I'm pretty sure they got I think a horse's brain may be smaller, but they use it all maybe.
Yeah.
And the sheep's brain may be a little bigger, but they're pretty much not using any of it. But that it's that they do develop some means of a personality, but it's not the same type of personality that you and I have.
Yeah.
It's a behavioral, as soon as you
It's
present
instinct.
something different
Yeah.
to a horse, it'll freak out.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just different. Where a person can rationalize it and go,
Yes.
well, that's different, but it's
It's okay.
A fence post is here that wasn't here yesterday. Well,
Yes.
it's not going to eat me because I know it's a fence post. Where a deer, or even a deer would do the same thing.
Yeah.
But coyotes is a classic example. We used to have a lot of problems with coyotes.
I'll bet.
With the sheep, and you literally could just take a feed bag and hang on the fence, and it would keep them away because it was something different. At night, they could see it. And then you'd move the feed bag, 60, 70 feet down the fence and hang it in a different spot. And the coyotes show up and then they're like, nope, we're out.
This is weird.
This is weird. So it's just differences in how they think and stuff. But anyway, we're really off topic.
Yeah, I know. I don't even know where we got now.
I'll go for days.
What are we here for again?
Sorry.
So when I walk in, y'all handed me this, the
Right.
2024 Big Rack Competition. And
I told
he
you
told
not.
me not to laugh.
Don't break character now.
The Big Rack Competition. So tell us all about it. The biggest rack and the
So,
prettiest rack.
Porterhouse from Pure Rock Radio.
Yes.
He had met Curt a couple times and he came to me and said, hey, he said, in the past we had done some, deer competitions basically. Yeah.
Years ago.
Yeah, and he thought it'd be cool if we could get back to kind of celebrating the American deer hunter. Really
Sure.
celebrating their accomplishments, their achievements during the fall season. Deer hunters do quite a bit of good when it comes to outdoors. Not only are they helping to control the deer population, but they're also contributing a tremendous amount of money into the economy. And Curt knows this.
Yeah.
And they're also, with buying their tags and their licenses and so on and so forth, that's the biggest contribution to the ODNR, who helps to
Makes total
take
sense.
care of our trails and our natural places that we all enjoy. And so, if you're an outdoor enthusiast, if you're a hunter but you like to hike or you like to just go camping or something along those lines, you should appreciate the hunter because they're the ones who are paying for a lot of that to a large degree. And so we thought this would be a good opportunity to just celebrate the deer hunter, really have a good time with it. Of course, Porterhouse and Jason and his crew in the mornings, they're going to have a great time with it. And so it starts on November 1st, right, Curt?
Yep.
November 1st, we thought, well, because many hunters nowadays are bow hunters. By the time gun season rolls around, they've already harvested their deer. And so.
Yeah, there's been a big shift in that.
Yes,
hasn't there?
absolutely. Big time. Yeah. It used to be, during gun season, it would just be an army of orange you would see everywhere, and it's not so much that way anymore. And some of it has to do with some people have moved away from hunting. Some of your younger generation, they've decided not to take up hunting, and so hopefully this is an opportunity to also try to gather some attention to hunting and hopefully encourage some younger people to participate. One of the categories is best harvest taken during the youth season, and so we certainly want to encourage our younger hunters out there to be a part of it and get out there and enjoy nature.
And please teach them the right way and respectful way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's part of this. It's right in the rules. The deer has to be harvested legally. Everything has to be, in the up and up. We'll be checking on the deer to make sure that it's legitimate. And so, you can check out the Pure Rock Facebook pages for the rules. They've been posted. And I'm sure Cheryl will be posting them as well on our social media sites, and we'll be sharing that information. It has on there also in the rules how you can participate. It's free for hunters to participate, which is awesome. We gotta we got to thank our sponsors who will be announcing those sponsors here in the next in the upcoming days. But
I'm sorry. All okay. Hey, it's just Pete Wilson. He's very nice.
Pete. Yeah, you don't bark at Pete. Nobody barks at Pete.
Nobody
Come
barks
on.
at Pete Wilson. He's the nicest human on earth.
Yeah. So Curt decided he wanted to put his name on this as well, and so.
Yeah.
No, love this. This is a great idea.
Yeah, something that hasn't really been done for a long time.
Long
I mean,
time.
Guys, how many counties are in it now?
I think we're up to 10 or so.
I'm looking.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's some of the rules. It is free. You must be a resident of Athens, Hawking, Jackson, Meigs, Vinton, Morgan, Washington, or Gallia counties.
And we added Ross and Pike County. since
Ross
we
and Pike
perma-
County,
yep,
too.
We've added Ross and Pike County to the mix.
Yeah. So we're covering basically about all of southeastern Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, what are the logistics of this competition? Do you bring the deer somewhere?
No.
Do you send in pictures? Do you?
Go ahead, Curt.
So
How's that work?
the website you're going to have to do an email.
Yeah, it's they'll be emailing us pictures of the deer, of the harvested deer.
Awesome.
And the email is purerockbigrack@gmail.com. Yep. purerockbigrack@gmail.com.
Can't hold it together. What's wrong with you?
And so yeah, they'll harvest. I don't know why are the women laughing at
I
that?
have
don't
no
understand.
idea. I mean, the men all understand exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
So
We're
Yeah.
so weird. Okay, so there's several different competitions. The biggest rack, the prettiest rack, the best harvest taking during youth season, but then best hunting
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
What do you do
Well,
about that?
I mentioned that before, that every deer head that's hanging on the wall or a picture has a story and a memory behind it, and that's what we're interested in. What was the story that you want to share with your hunt, even if
Does it have to be
doesn't
from
end
this
up,
year?
Not technically.
Yeah.
We don't make
Okay.
that rule. We don't
Okay.
make that clear.
it didn't have to end up with a harvest.
Right.
It could be
It
the
could be
story
the
of
one
the
that
one
got
that got
away.
away.
Yeah.
But everybody that has spent any time in the woods has had funnies, and stories, or could even be a very serious, heartfelt,
Oh, I have a-
situation from family, or remembering Grandpa's, last deer that he was hunting with us, or whatever, just stuff like that. That's kind of what we're looking for with it. So it'd be some type of short story that would be submitted.
Okay.
And then, we will select. Now, when we get all these pictures, we're anticipating on getting several. We're going to go through a kind of a vetting process where the pro staff of hunters that I have and some of the team at the radio station are going to select like the top 10 in each category.
Okay.
And we will actually go out and physically make sure that the deer exists because of
I was
AI
gonna
and different
say,
things,
yeah, that could be a thing too.
So that'll eliminate that down, and then it'll go back on social media for the public to vote on it.
Perfect.
So we're not going to go out the tape measure and measure every rack. This is going to be, a public opinion.
Okay.
And hence the prettiest competition. Because how do you judge that other than people would vote on it?
Yeah.
So it'll be one of those things where obviously if somebody has a deer in a competition, they want to encourage all their friends to go to the Facebook page or whatever
Absolutely.
we're using.
Yeah,
I
Pure
think
Rock,
to make connection to vote for
Love
them on that as well too. So yeah, I think it's a very well thought out. I have to give 90% of the credit to Tad and the team to put it together. I mean, I think Rodney brought it up one day, and
That's
he,
Rodney. He's
Yeah.
always got some wild ideas.
He come up with it, and he was talking about during
Yeah.
gun season, and we were like, "Hey, Rodney, you've had a few birthday cakes between now and then. Gun season isn't what it used to be."
Yeah.
So we put it together, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm all on board. Whatever you guys think will work well, and with that part of it." And
Well, and the cool
it's
thing is
very well put together, I think.
Yeah, so you have obviously between November 1st and December 8th.
Yeah,
Yes.
which is the last day of the regular gun season.
So it's as we've spread out gun season versus bow season.
Yeah.
So it's going to go the whole gambit of that, which is cool.
That
Plenty
time
of
period.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
plenty of time to do it. Actually, bow season started at the beginning of October, but it's
Okay.
like, how do we do a competition that's like 3 months
Yeah,
long?
right,
So
right.
so the typical rut or breeding season for deer, although it's probably started to a certain degree in certain places, really starts about the first part of November. And that's when you have the most deer movement and activity, and that's when you see the most deer. And we kind of selected that time period. It's when a lot of the bigger deer is harvested.
Okay.
And when most of your auto collisions are as well.
Yeah, right. As they say, it's car
Yeah.
season for deer.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, very